So my name is Asher Donohue. I am at Covenant Fellowship Church in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, and I am a graduate of the Pastors College class of 2025. Yeah, so my story is a little different. I have honestly known about the Pastors College my whole life because my dad is a pastor. He was in just before the Pastors College started, so he was a little too old. But then I'd always would hear about it, and he went down to teach each year. So I never didn't know what the Pastors College was. And pastors at my church would wear their polos that would say Pastors College. And so I had always known about it. I actually decided when I graduated college to go to Southern Seminary. And so that was a decision I made knowing that I also wanted to do the Pastors College. And so it was because I really benefited from Southern. I know sometimes you'll hear this or that. I think they were both wonderful. But the amount of focused care and specific attention to your own personal life, nothing beats the PC. And so I felt like, I honestly, if I view my education, I had 4 years of high school, 3 years of college, I kind of consolidated that, 2 years at Southern, and then I was like the cherry on top. Right before I went into actually doing the stuff, I felt like I'd been in education for a while, was the Pastor's College, and it was really exactly what I needed as the last. After that, I felt ready to do ministry and to go into it. So yeah, it was a decision that I made in conjunction with people around me who really wanted me to, but it was also something I realized just the value of, honestly, as soon as I started. Honestly, it really is that, like the whole 10 months, because there's different classes that I really enjoyed. All of them are great, but hermeneutics with Josh Blunt was just it was, when I say great class, but also a lot of fun. Just enjoyable. Anything with Jeff is just a privilege. He he speaks with such sincerity and honesty that it is, yeah, you really realize the seriousness of the task. And he brings a lot of joy to it as well, but really the responsibility comes through in that. Counseling classes were amazing. So that's Pete Payne and Andy Farmer. Those guys are such a great 1-2 punch. And those really brought the class together. I was really stirred by the church planning class, even as someone who I wouldn't have gone in that year saying I'm a church planner, wouldn't have even come out bullish on church planning, but just eager to see what God's doing in the denomination. That was another team taught class. I love that. So yeah, the whole span of it. And really what I really benefited from was getting to see pastors in those. So we have scholars come in, those are great, but you'll have guys teaching who are teaching on, at times, a practical level, at times an more academic subject, at an ology, eschatology, missiology, ecclesiology, but they'll share what they're coming from. Oh, last week, this person was in my office and I'm caring for them, or we're going through a difficult season, or one of my leaders had to step down, or things like that you just don't get in a strictly classroom environment. And so when they would, and even if it's not a pastoral concern, when they would kind of step away from the topic proper and talk about, here's how this matters to me, or here's what I'm hearing, here's my corner of sovereign grace, I was just like, I love that. That was almost more of a highlight. I would say maybe half of our classes had guests in there. So that would be normally divided between pastors who are just trying to stay fresh on something. So we had pastors who were in a lot of counseling situations and they wanted just counseling help. So they were there for that. So it's some of those, but then also interest. So if there's a prospective student, they'll say, hey, how about you come to one of our classes? And so you get to know, along with the professors, a lot of whom are Sovereign Grace pastors, you just get to know the denomination so well. I remember I've been to 3 conferences. One was before I went to the Pastor's College, and I still knew people. I was still a kind of Sovereign Grace lifer, but one before, one in November of the Pastor's College, and one afterwards. And you could just see, like, each time, now I'm here and there's I'm saying hi to people left and right just because I know them. Oh, somebody came up who was, observing or sitting in on a class, or a professor, or it just, if it was like they had one, the whole value of it sometimes might be, oh, well, it's so many different people. That's the whole point of it in my mind. You get to know and feel like part of the family. Yeah. I could say a number of things. So I think the thing that stands out throughout the process is care and intentionality. And this is, I think, a product, again, I'm coming in, I'm not sure what year, but at least 25 years, over 25 years. And so I know it was great at the beginning, I know, but it's really been honed to, in the best way, a science. Not that that's not a lack of care. Of course there's care, but it really is just everything is thought through. They are really intentional in that. And so that's academically, like they are, each of those weeks has been planned out. They're getting as much in as possible. Some of them are really jam-packed, where it's a topic where you could easily go to a seminar and get a class for a whole semester. But even there, when they're honed down, it's what are we focusing on that's of value. I know Jeff says this, I've experienced that. So in ordination exams, so I am not an elder yet, but I took my first Bible knowledge exam, and I, by God's grace, did really well. And that was a testament to the Pastor's College preparing me as well, being in the Word throughout. So that stands out. But then the other thing I think even maybe more significant is the attention into your life. And it is, I don't want to say anything that's too universal, but I did find, even for the guys down there, God actually tends to, and I don't know if this is going to be a good public, promotion for it, but he sends trials at times, even seemingly separate from the pastor's college. And so I was in one of those. I was in just a challenging situation, but I call it the pressure cooker. It really did feel like not only was I pushed kind of academically or scholastically, I was pushed in my personal life. It was not all just smooth sailing. So in this pressure cooker, there's a lot of things God is doing in your life. And I really feel like, because you're not doing ministry. So for me, when I was in other contexts, I'm always doing something else. So often at school and working a job and helping out where I can with the church and, whatever it is. There's a number of different hats that I wear. Here, you're really just a student. I did not have any responsibilities of, I'm carrying this ministry. So it was all learning. And because of that, I think that's why God, in his providence, does send some of this, even ways I know I didn't go there as a married guy, but other guys who felt that in their marriage. I felt it in other relationships of, okay, I'm asking hard questions. I'm digging in. And that can be a bit intimidating, but I just think I will look back on that year as the year I grew the most. And so I think it's easy to have the idea that growth can happen apart from challenge. And I've just found in my life that doesn't exist. And so I'm not promoting the challenge part of the PC. I'm not saying go there because it will be hard, but it's the challenge that produces the growth. And so that element, and then in terms of the PC itself, the care. So Brian Chesmore, the pastor, who's the pastor of those guys, the fellowship that's happening, attention to your life that's coming primarily through that, but also through anybody who's teaching will at times just, you're in a conversation and they'll share something. It really doesn't give you any out to excuse yourself from what God's doing. And it was just so helpful to have an experienced pastor there to care for me, and I'm having monthly meetings just to say it was not a kind of DEFCON 1 type where I'm only going to talk to a pastor if I'm in trouble. There were times where it was more of that. It was more significant. Other times where it was less, imminent what was happening in my life, but I'm still regularly getting pastoral insight throughout, not just waiting until I am in need of it. And that was really invaluable. And one thing that you can get excellent academics outside in other places, but you can't get that kind of focused attention to your life anywhere else but the PC. Yeah, I would say, particularly in my case, I'm already mentioned this, but I am a Sovereign Grace lifer. So I was born into Covenant Fellowship Church. I was a pastor's kid, so I had really all of that stuff from the get-go. I was not getting introduced to Sovereign Grace. There are some guys where that's the case. And so if anybody, this is not me bragging at all, but if anybody already knew Sovereign Grace culture, I just grew up in it. And so it would be, I think, there was the potential for me to think, I don't need this. I already know Jeff personally. I had been at the church at Sovereign Grace Louisville for a few years, so I just felt I knew many of the professors, one of whom was my dad. So if there was any kind of like, I'll be okay without this, this is for guys getting an intro, I would just say that's not true. So I know there's other guys who will say to people who don't really know Sovereign Grace, you got to do it. I'm saying to the guys who are a pastor's kid or know the deal, you still have to do it. It is it does something to really knit you in. And if you're, again, there are there are different ways to do this, but the pastor's college is by far the best way to not be a member of Sovereign Grace, but really part of the family. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say to anybody to do it, but particularly you'll feel the effects even if you have listened to C.J. Mahaney's sermons, even if you have, Sovereign Grace music as your number one on Spotify. Like, even if all of those boxes are checked, you are still missing out if you're not at the PC.